This podcast is sponsored by nobody.
Yo, dudes, this is Tony Hudson, Denise in Just One of the Guys, and Sarah in Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and you're listening to Tommy Throwback Kovac on Splat from the Past. I'd rather go to the phone book and pick a name at random.
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the LA 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. And now today, I will be talking to, once again, I will be welcoming back my good friend Lauren Marie Taylor from Friday the 13th Part 2 and Girls Night Out and Neighbors. And we are going to nerd out on the entertainment of our youth, talking about film, television, and music. And I cannot wait. As you know, I just adore Lauren. I mean, she's got such a bubbly, sparkling personality, and she's so much fun and funny and has a great sense of humor, and it's going to be great to talk to her for the third time on the show, and I cannot wait. I am just so excited. You know, she grew up in the 60s and 70s in New York, so I have a lot to ask about what her personal tastes were in film, television, and music, and also see what horror cons she's got coming up. I'm sure she's got a lot of them this year. You know, she's really pounding the pavement with the cons, like so many are. And her podcast, Not the Final Girl, is so awesome. She's been on hiatus lately, and I'm going to ask about that, and it's going to be another great conversation today. We tried to do this on Thursday, but last Thursday, the 4th, was such a bad day. You know, my cardio appointment ended up getting rescheduled, and now I got to wait till fucking May. It's driving me crazy, but, you know, I'm healthy, everything's great, and I will get that done, and now I'm going to get this done. So yeah, here is my new interview with Lauren Marie Taylor. Hey Lauren, welcome back. How are you today?
Oh God, I never go on Facebook or Messenger. I try to keep up with it, but it's so hard.
Yeah.
Because it's just hard. It's really hard. I'm more of an Instagram user. So, I mean, I kid you not, I've just spent 45 minutes because I thought, let me start this early.
Yeah.
And, I mean, 45 minutes. And finally, I realized this account was related to a different email that I never use. I just set it up for this purpose and for another purpose, but right. I never get any email there. So maybe I should change my regular email to the one where I don't get anything, including spam, to knock down on the spam, but otherwise, it's a beautiful day in New York after we had that crazy earthquake on Friday. How about you?
Well, we have no indication of earthquake, thank God, but the sun is out today, so I'm a happy guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to go on a little hike, but my morning was a little on the kooky side,
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, going back in time, do you remember the first movie that impacted you as a child?
I was thinking about this because I think Lady and the Tramp came out the year I was born, the animated one. Right. But I hadn't seen it until, obviously, I was older. But as a very, very young chick, we used to go to Radio City Music Hall. And believe it or not, they had a screen on that huge stage. And we would watch things like Charlotte's Web and Lady and the Tramp, of course, Cinderella, Snow White, all those old animated movies. So that's my very first memory of being in a theater and seeing something spectacular like that. How about you?
I mean, God, I was a cinephile from the get-go, but like the first movie that truly impacted me was Back to the Future. I was 3.5 when I first saw it, and I always had that fantasy of going back in time and seeing my parents in high school and finding out why they're so fucked up and I'm so fucked up. You know, I think that's why a lot of
I like
people.
that premise.
Yeah,
I like that premise.
I think that's why a lot of people like it. You know, because they'd like to see their parents in high school. That's why it's such a popular movie. I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as I got older, I mean, I remember seeing Patton when I was a youngster. I think I was still in grade school when
Oh,
I saw Patton.
I love
And
Patton.
well, being a person who went to Catholic school, my brother and I went to Catholic school, and we were a little surprised that my mother took us to this movie that had all this violence, and the F bomb I must be in that movie at least every 60 seconds. So
Well,
that was kind of like my first grown-up movie, like in sixth grade or something like that.
yeah, I just watched it recently. I don't think there's an F bomb, but there's a lot of shit and ass and a lot of vulgarity for sure because it's a PG movie. But yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, see, I haven't seen it since I was a little kid. So in my little Catholic schoolgirl mind, the worst curse you could think of was the F word.
Yeah,
So in my memory, I hear the F word when it's in reality, like you said, it's poopy words, it's potty mouth words, that
yeah.
everybody says now, including babies when they hear their parents cursing at football games.
Yeah. What
But yeah,
genres
but
did?
when I got,
Go ahead.
pardon?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, then, you move into your, I think I was in eighth grade, or I think I was in eighth grade, maybe seventh grade, when Jaws came out and
Yeah.
The Exorcist came out. So those were my first, scared the crap out of me type of movies in that, preteen stage. So, again, Catholic school, God is going to punish you for everything. And I'm like, ugh. And
Yeah.
then, it's like, you don't go to the friggin' beach now. And I went to the beach all the time. And I was like, I'm not going in the water. Shit, I'm going to get eaten alive.
You remember the first time you saw The Exorcist?
I saw it later. Believe it
Uh-huh.
or not, I didn't see it in the movie theater. I saw The Omen in a movie theater. But I
Yeah.
didn't see The Exorcist until Blockbuster days.
Everyone's saying that the new Omen's better than the original. I'll be the judge of that when I finally see it.
Absolutely, absolutely. What was your first scary movie?
Mine was The Shining. Now, let me tell you, I was a year old when we got HBO for the first time, and it was on
Uh,
all the friggin' time,
yeah.
always. We had it on tape and everything. And I have vague memories of being scared by it, but it wasn't until I was 7. I rewatched it. It was on USA Network, all chopped up, and then I finally loved the movie. And now, I still say it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
It's just great. And again, I go back to that Catholic thing again, and anything that scares the pants off a Catholic is a great, scary movie for me. I mean, The Shining, of course, no one can beat Jack Nicholson. No
Nobody.
one. He's just great. But on the lighter side, I was a huge Raiders of the Lost Ark fan. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in love with Harrison Ford after that movie. In love. You can ask my husband.
Yeah.
In love.
I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. I love Temple of Doom the most because it's got real black humor in it, and I just think it's a lot more silly than Raiders. I like Raiders, but it's too slow. I think.
I'm just there for the eye candy for the young Harrison Ford.
Love it. What genres did you gravitate toward the most?
Wow, I guess it was action. I really enjoyed action. I enjoyed thrillers, mixed with all that, suspense. But, I was a Star Wars girl.
Yeah.
I had a crush on Billy D. Williams. I was into Star Trek.
Yeah.
Even on the TV show side, I was like, that's just so adventurous to go into outer space. How cool is that? I just like that whole, ride 'em cowboy type of stuff,
Yeah.
that requires a lot of cojones to do. Yeah. How about you?
I love comedy and horror the most. Those were always my two favorite genres, but I love all genres, you know. I just love movies in general.
Yeah, I'm kind of like not really girly in the old fashioned sense, is that I don't
Yeah,
gravitate to rom coms.
yeah,
You know, I'm like, I don't want to watch an episode of Friends on the big screen. If I'm going to go spend my money, sit in a theater with a bunch of people I don't know with really salty, buttery popcorn,
yeah,
I want to be entertained at a grand scale, or I want to get my the crap scared out of me. You know,
yeah.
big scares.
Growing up in New York, did you guys have a local horror host on TV?
We had Creature Feature. I don't know if that was local or not, but we had Creature Feature and Chiller's Theater. You know, with the
Uh huh.
hand with the six fingers coming up.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember. I don't remember because I was young. So watching those shows on TV when I was a youngster, you know, you don't have this idea of like a Dr. Gangrene, a friend of mine
Oh yeah.
down south who does it. Yeah. You know, we didn't have that kind of guy, but I guess Vincent Price was the host
Uh huh.
of one of those. Yeah. So that was my memory of that, was just being able to watch something scary on TV, and my grandmother allowing us to do so in the apartment. It was like, yay.
Yeah, growing up, we didn't have a local horror TV host. I had to watch Gilbert Gottfried and Rhonda Shear on USA Up All Night and Joe Bob Briggs on TNT Monster Vision. But like there was a Creature Features in the Bay Area before I was born. A guy named Bob Wilkins did it for the first 8 years, and then John Stanley took over. And I've had John on the podcast twice. He's a great guy.
That's
I think
cool.
he feels really regretful though that he didn't move it to another network after they canceled him.
Yeah, I guess it was different back then too. You didn't have a whole lot of jockeying. It's like if you were canceled, that's
Mm,
it. You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have the $1 million movie?
Yes, we did. We did. I don't recall. What did I say? Maybe I saw like The Sound of Music on that, or I don't remember, but I did. You know, we were allowed to watch because we were raised by our grandparents early on, so
Mm,
we were allowed to watch what they wanted to watch. You know, so I'm
yeah.
watching, you know, I Love Lucy and Abbott and Costello and, you know, Polish dancing, you know, and
Mm. Yeah. Now your birthday is the day after Halloween. Did you have a lot of Halloween birthdays growing up?
no, not at all, because remember, we're Catholic and I was born on All Saints Day.
Uh
So once the trick or treating was over, it was over. You eat your candy, get sick. The next day, it's a holy day of obligation. You're going to church on your birthday. You get off from school because it's a holy day of obligation, but you're going to church on your birthday. So it's kind of like,
yeah.
okay, well, that was fun. But, you know, we didn't really my grandparents didn't really throw birthday parties or anything like that for us. So, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When's your birthday?
My birthday is June 6th, which is D-Day.
Oh, God. And how do you celebrate that?
I just celebrate it, you know. We don't really have a specific theme on my birthday. We just celebrate it.
Yeah, yeah, it's got to be tough for the old timers, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you into James Bond growing up?
Okay. Okay. So this is, God, I thought Woody Allen's Casino Royale was really the real James Bond.
Right.
I didn't realize it. So when the James Bond movies were coming out, you know, Sean Connery and all those guys,
Yeah.
I was like, that's going to be that short guy with the glasses again, and, you know, weird people doing weird. I was like, I don't want to go and see that. But then Roger Moore, another early heartthrob for me.
Yeah.
When he was James Bond, I was like, ah. I just like that old-fashioned look back then. You know, he was very clean-cut, all-American
Yeah.
looking kind of guy. So, you know, and I like Lee Majors, you know, on TV for the $6 Million Man. And Roger Moore was kind of like the movie star version of Lee Majors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ABC showed a Bond movie every month for like 25 years, and I was lucky to see the tail end of that. That's how I first got into the Bond movies.
Okay, yeah, I know a lot of boys growing up. It was like James Bond. They all wanted to be either an astronaut or James Bond.
Yeah.
They wanted to be an international man of mystery. And then they all wound up being more like Austin Powers than those suave Bond dudes.
Yeah. Yeah, Connery was my favorite. I liked some of Roger Moore's and stuff. Timothy Dalton, I thought he wasn't given a chance. I love The Living Daylights. License to Kill, not so much. And then Pierce Brosnan, I think he could have been a better Bond if he had had better screenplays than what he was given.
Yeah, yeah, and I think Daniel Craig has done a really, really good job. He's just got this look that you got some sexiness, but you've got that danger, but you've got that really intelligent look about you.
Yeah. But again, the writing, the last one I saw in the theater, I wasn't impressed by the writing, but you know, hopefully they'll come to their senses and bring back the humor, even though they say that Mike Myers screwed it up with the Austin Powers movies.
It's true. That was a great movie. I liked the first Austin Powers movie a lot.
Yeah. And then they got kind of, repetitive and excessive. Yeah, the first one is really, really great.
Yeah, like Borat, too. The very first Borat was great, because it was such a surprise to have that premise.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they did the second one, you're like, didn't you people see Borat? Don't you know this guy is just being a dick with you?
Yeah. How about Disney stuff? Were you into Disney?
I was into early Disney, the Cinderellas and this and that. In terms of later Disney's, obviously, I had to go and see Beauty and the Beast and Pocahontas because of my kids.
Yeah.
But of recent Disney times, in terms of animation, by far, Pocahontas and Beauty and the Beast are my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anastasia.
Yeah, I think that the 1940 Pinocchio is the finest achievement ever put to animation. I just love it. It was always my favorite when I was a kid. I remember my parents taking me to Disneyland when I was 6.5, and I'm taking all these pictures with all these characters, but we can't find Pinocchio. I started crying.
Were you like a Mickey Mouse fan too?
Oh yeah, I loved them all. Yeah, but
that's pretty funny.
But Pinocchio was my guy. I just loved him. He was so great. And I was also into Dumbo and Alice in Wonderland and Mary Poppins and Davy Crockett, all of that stuff.
And Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I mean, even as an adult, I used to sit on the George Washington Bridge on my way to the studio when I was on the soap opera, and I would be caught in random traffic, tractor trailers overturning. And you'd sit there and you go, oh, God, I'm going to be late to the studio. I wish this car was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah, I saw that a little bit later, and I thought it was okay. It was great seeing Dick Van Dyke and Benny Hill in the same movie.
Yeah, Dick Van Dyke, you can't go wrong. And which one is it where he's, Mary Poppins, where he's doing the whole dance up on the, being, the chimney sweep.
Yeah.
The legs for days on him.
Do you remember your first drive-in experience?
Drive-in? I had one. What was it? I think it oh God, this is going to sound horrible, but it was my father's custody weekend, and he lived right near the Whitestone drive-in, under what was eventually going to be the Cross Bronx Expressway. They hadn't completely finished it yet. So it was this huge outside theater. And he took my brother and me to see Death Wish, the original one.
Love it.
What are you thinking?
Yeah.
We're kids. I mean, all I could think of was like, oh my God, I'm not going to do anything to offend anybody ever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously it was much worse than that, but,
Yeah, it's funny.
Wow.
It was funny the other day. I'm talking to my friend Greg Gilbert. You've been on his podcast as well, and
Yeah.
we're talking about Death Wish, and he said I never liked that movie because the ending disappointed me. I thought he was going to kill the gang, who terrorized his wife and daughter at the beginning, and I jokingly said, well, you know what? I see your
Yeah.
point, but if they had done that, Jeff Goldblum would have had a career like Andy Robinson. Because he would have been typecast.
Right. I mean, the other thing too is being in New York and being raised in, in the five boroughs. We didn't have a whole lot of driving. I guess Staten Island probably had more. Maybe Queens had more. But in the Bronx, it was just Hell City. So it was different. I think there was just that one drive-in and that was it. But we don't really have cars, in the metropolitan area. It's very rare for a family to have a car,
right,
unless you live, in a house or you're somebody who needs to drive to get somewhere. We took trains and buses everywhere.
Yeah. I remember being 2 years old. My parents started taking me to the drive-in, and I saw Weird Science and Rambo 2, and I kind of remember it. And then after a while,
Wow.
It got to a point they stopped taking me for a few years because I was either falling asleep in the back seat or I was getting out of the car and knocking on windshields.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's bad news.
Yeah.
Leave the kid at home.
I have no memory of that, but one thing I do have a memory of, though, one of the last times that they took me, my mom had to go to the snack bar and complain about something, and there was a stand-up cardboard poster of Charlie Chaplin. It was a cookie ad for Bagley's Cookies, and I had never seen Charlie Chaplin before. That was the first time, and I was like, "Hey, Mommy, I want a cookie just like that man has," and she was like, "You don't get a cookie, I'm mad."
The perils of being a young you.
Yeah. But but when TNT came a few years later, I became a huge Chaplin fan. They would have these like long marathons of his movies, and I just love them still to this day.
Yeah, I love the fact that they have Turner Classic Movies, AMC. I mean, the fact that new generations are able to see these classics, even like the most obscure movies, like if they have like John Wayne, a marathon.
Yeah.
It's like you see the movies that you saw, but then you can see the ones that you've never seen, and it's just really cool because it keeps those old school movie stars still in the conversation for everybody.
Yeah, they would do the Labor Day John Wayne or Clint Eastwood marathon of westerns. They would show like 3 of them or something.
Yeah, I saw the original Magnificent Seven in Catholic school. Of course, we would have movie days, and that was one of the ones that they showed. And I remember watching it. And again, it's that whole adventurous thing. But there's violence. And I mean, this is Catholic school. You know, put on Dumbo.
Yeah. What did they take you to, like like a theater and watch it on projection back then?
Oh well, we had an auditorium that also had a stage, so they would play it on the wall. I guess I don't know. I was so young, so I don't remember. But they would play it, on the wall, and the classes would file in. You do. Like 1st through 3rd grade watching Magnificent Seven, 4th through 6th, and then, it was hysterical. But it was a way to give the nuns a break and for us to get a break from the nuns hitting us.
Oh, yes. Oh, God. My parents didn't go to Catholic school, but they went to an elementary school where, they would get, hit on the knuckles if they were bad or something. Awful stuff. And by the time I went to that school, that was no more. That was the late 80s. That was done. If you did that, you'd end up on the news.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. I mean, it's funny because my brother and I were just talking about this yesterday. He came up to visit, and he was like, "Hey, remember Sister Alphonsine? Remember Mr. Cower?" And he goes, "Remember that time you had your mouth washed out with soap?"
Oh.
We're saying, "Yeah."
My parents did that to me.
Yeah.
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 Oh my God. My dad, he was a teenager in the 70s, so he would go to drive-ins. He would see the same movie 3 times because the first 2 times he was either making out with a girl or fucking her in the car.
Listen, I was just talking to somebody about that.
Yeah.
Who was I talking to about this? We went to see my boyfriend Jim in high school. We
Uh-huh.
went to see Rocky in
Yeah.
the movie theater.
Oh, he did too. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, this dude, hi Jim Murphy, if you ever see this, still a great guy.
Yeah.
But it's the fight scene. It's the friggin' fight scene, and he's
Yeah.
trying to kiss me. I'm like, dude, I want to see this part.
I love it. Yeah, it took him 3 times to actually see the movie. He did that with Rocky. He saw that with the Groove Tube. He did that with Animal House. Yeah.
I love Animal House. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's the best. It's still the best comedy ever made, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, did you watch all the sitcoms on TV growing up?
What did we watch? We watched Happy Days.
Mm-hmm.
Reruns of I Love Lucy and The Honeymooners.
Yeah.
My grandmother loved watching game shows, so there was a lot of $10,000 Pyramid and Name That Tune, which we still do.
Yeah.
Not my grandmother, obviously. She'd be like 800 years old at this point. But, yeah, Happy Days was the big one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? We didn't watch a whole lot of TV growing up. It was like all these polka shows,
Yeah.
Yeah, how about you?
Well, being the latchkey kid that I am, I saw everything, and my mom worked for the cable company. My dad and I, in my early years, like 3, 4, 5 years old, we would watch TBS Superstation, and we would see all the stuff that he grew up on. We'd see the Munsters, the Addams Family, Leave It to Beaver, Pink Panther cartoons, Three Stooges shorts, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I forgot about those. Yeah, we did have The Courtship of Eddie's Father. We had F Troop, Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
Also was big
we
in
watched
our
that too.
And,
yeah.
Star Trek, the real Star Trek, the original. That was always fun. Yeah. Hold on, I wrote one down that I didn't want to forget. Oh yeah. Little Rascals.
Yes, the Little Rascals.
Big. Yeah. Saturday morning, it was like a double feature. We would have the Little Rascals, and then we would have Abbott and Costello.
Oh,
loved them. Loved our cartoons and Josie and the Pussycats and Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
those were great.
It took me a while to get into Abbott and Costello because growing up I was a Martin and Lewis guy.
Okay.
Did you watch the Monkees?
Yes, I did. I totally forgot about that. Mm-hmm. Hey, with the monkeys.
Yeah. I used to watch that on Nick at Night, and I had a crush on Davy, and I still do.
Oh, my God. It's so funny because my husband, he's a few years older than I am,
mm-hmm.
and he'll, not like 10 years or anything, but he's just a few years older.
Uh-huh.
So because he's a, mid to late 50s child, he grew up watching the Leave It to Beavers, before they went into rerun.
Right.
And he'll always say to me, "Hey, hon, do you remember that show?" And I just went, it was before my time. Sorry, bub.
Yeah, you probably saw Batman and,
God. We watched Batman.
Yeah, and Lost in Space and stuff like that.
Yeah, Warning Will Robinson and Superman we watched. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
We got all those early on. So yeah, it wasn't like we had like the closest thing to anything like Friends or Seinfeld, which you grew up with.
Yep.
Was Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley. Mary Tyler Moore Show.
I grew up on those too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love Mary Tyler Moore Show. I love Happy Days. Laverne and Shirley is probably my favorite sitcom. I think it should.
Really?
It is. I think it should have ended in 1980, though, because when they moved the show from Milwaukee to L.A., I think the show just got too over the top, and it just wasn't as good anymore.
Yeah, they tried to push it a little a little bit too much. My dogs are always barking. Sorry.
It's okay. It's a good example though of what happens when the creator of a show leaves to direct movies. That's what Gary Marshall did.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved all the Norman Lear sitcoms like All in the Family, and Sanford and Son.
Yeah. Sanford and Son, The Jeffersons.
Yep, The Jeffersons. Good Times. What else? Maude.
Oh, Maude. See, Good Times and Maude were not in my, watching wheelhouse. I liked Archie Bunker and his gang, and I love the Jeffersons. I love George and Wheezy. Love them.
They were great.
And I know the building where they moved into. I see it when I was in the city. Yeah, and it was like on 84th Street, thereabouts.
Yeah.
Near 3rd Avenue. Was it 3rd? Yeah, 3rd Avenue, between 3rd and Lex. Anyway, it was just, I was like, that's the Jefferson building.
Did you watch any of the educational shows like The Electric Company or The Magic Garden?
No. We didn't watch those. My brother and I thought that they were stupid. And then years later, I was on The Electric Company. I did a marathon special with them when I was on Loving, on the soap opera.
Yeah.
I was a pretty good marathoner, and they decided they wanted to follow me, run a marathon.
Right.
And so I ran a marathon with a microphone pack and everything, and they had cameras set up along the way. And I would talk into the microphone about how my body was feeling, because it was their week to talk about bodies and body stress and how your body works, to do incredible things. And my incredible thing was running a 3-hour marathon. So that was kind of cool.
So if you thought those shows were stupid, you probably didn't like the Kroft Brothers shows either.
I don't know them. I know the Smothers Brothers.
Well, they did H.R. Puffin stuff, Land of the Lost, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters.
That's after. That's way after my time.
The Boogaloos, yeah. This was like early 70s.
No, I mean, Land of the Lost, I know our kids watched Land of the Lost.
Yeah.
But I don't remember those. I don't remember seeing those when I was a kid.
I talked to Sid Kroft last year, and it was snowing in California, a very rare snow day. And I spent probably a good 10 hours editing that episode. There was a lot of delays, a lot of technical difficulties. I'm surprised we did it in an hour, but we did.
Amazing. Yeah, that's very cool. Did you watch educational shows?
Yeah. Okay, so by the time I came of age, I had Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers. I had this show. It was a ripoff of the Electric Company up in Canada. It was called Pinwheel, and it had this theme song that so many kids of my generation remember. Pinwheel, pinwheel, spinning around. Look at my pinwheel. Look what I found. Pinwheel, pinwheel. Yeah.
That, I'm sure you've done this, but that is right to changing into very dirty lyrics, because I already had a whole bunch of dirty lyrics in my head as you're singing it.
You know what? I honestly have never, with a dirty mind like mine, I have never actually sat down and thought of dirty lyrics for Pinwheel, but now I'm going to.
That's shocking that you never thought of that. That really shocks me about you.
It never occurred to me. It really didn't, because I loved that theme song so much when I was a kid. How about variety shows? How about variety shows? Were you into, Laugh-In?
Yeah, Laugh-In, Sonny and Cher. Those were big. Those two big ones.
They were
Lawrence
great.
Welk show. Yeah, they were fun. Yeah, Lawrence Welk, of course. A real big show here. My grandmother liked Johnny Carson, but those were more talk shows. But it was all about laughing, man. It was just because again, growing up the way we did, to see this on TV, it's like, oh my God, look how short her skirt is.
Yeah.
Look at the way she's dancing.
Yeah, I've talked to a few people about this recently. After Laugh-In, everybody wanted to be Laugh-In, but they couldn't do it. Everyone had a variety show, and most of them were terrible. Most of the imitators, like the Bay City Rollers and Sha Na Na
Yeah.
and Donnie and Marie, and even Mary Tyler Moore had one after her sitcom was over, and they
Yeah.
failed.
Yeah, we used to watch. Well, I guess I was a little older at this point. We
Uh-huh.
watched Danny Terrio and Dance Fever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those. It was just past disco time. What else did we? What did we watch? Soul Train.
Soul
That
Train.
was a big one.
Midnight
My brother
Special.
and oh, we loved. We had my neighbor Pat, and I had a sort of a boyfriend, Junior. We're in the Bronx, and they would come over, and we'd be watching Soul Train, and my grandmother would be just barely putting up with it, barely. We're like, go to church, leave us alone.
Don Kirshner's rock concert.
Oh, right, yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, I thought they tried to come back with variety shows, but nobody's ever really clicked, so it just stays to late night television gap then.
Yeah, I think the last one was, it may have been Billy Crystal's Comedy Hour in 1982. I think it was on,
Oh my God.
I think it was on NBC or CBS, one of the two. I think that was the last one. And then after that, yeah, no more variety shows because Saturday Night Live was the king of variety shows by that point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could call all these competition shows are kind of like they took the place of variety shows, really.
Right.
The American Idols, all those, yeah.
Did you go to any Broadway shows growing up?
I didn't start going to Broadway shows until I was in high school, and the obligatory first show for everyone was A Chorus Line with the original cast.
Yeah.
So I saw A Chorus Line. I saw the original Evita with Patti LuPone. In fact, I got her autograph on a poster for my mother.
Oh my God! I emailed her on her website back in 2006, long before I ever knew I wanted to interview people, and I asked her questions and she answered them. She was very nice to me, very brutally honest too.
Absolutely, 100%. She was cool. And then I saw the original Chicago with Gwen Verdon and Jerry Orbach and Sheeta Rivera, and that was huge because then years later, fast forward, I met Gwen Verdon and Sheeta Rivera. Just like in A Chorus Line, Pamela Blair, who sang the song Tits and Ass, Bought Myself a Fancy Pair.
Love it.
She wound up being on Loving. She years later, and I told her, I said, "Oh my God," I said, "I so fangirled you when you were in A Chorus Line." She was just amazing. The original Dreamgirls I saw with Jennifer Holliday.
Oh, nice.
That was really cool. What else? Dracula with Frank Langella.
Yep.
I went to the theater a lot when I was in high school. A lot. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, because you were an aspiring actor. You wanted to learn, probably.
I just went to be entertained. I didn't go to learn.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I really just wanted to enjoy the experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's me. How about you? You ever see any big Broadway shows your way?
It's funny. I've never really gotten to, but like I mean, I participated in theater in high school. I did stage crew for the pajama game. Oh my God! So like the week leading up to opening night is just the most intense and brutal one, and like we would hear the same songs over and over again. And so me and the other prop handler, her and I would just break up the monotony by telling us the most highly offensive jokes and make each other laugh the whole time. And then it got to a point where we would go into the actors' dressing room and tell them, and then they would tell us jokes that were far more worse than ours.
See, that's when it comes in handy to be somebody. My brother and I did this all through high school because he was like assistant directed the shows because the moderator teacher would direct, and he would assistant direct, and I would go over and audition and and whatnot. And he and I just speak, probably because we love Name That Tune so much.
Yeah.
But, like you said, you hear these songs a bazillion times So when we were at home,
Yeah.
we would take the lyrics and just really just sing horrible things about body parts.
My dad does too.
And,
you know what my dad would do?
It was so much fun.
My dad, he would take the lyrics of Def Leppard songs and make fun of the drummer who lost his arm. You know, he would do like,
no.
Yes, Armageddon it, you know, or, you know, what do you want? I want a new arm, you know, or stuff like that.
Oh no. Oh, Dad.
Yeah. Just awful stuff like that. Let it go, let it roll, you know, stuff like that.
God, that's terrible.
I know, it's awful. Getting into music, like, what's the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna say, was it Yellow Brick Road? Elton John, Yellow Brick Road.
Oh, it's a great album.
Yeah.
It's a double.
And then my mother had a piano, and so on her custody weekends, we would go there, and I would sing every song on the album. And my brother learned on his own. He's very smart. Learned how to play the piano, and he was able to play "Funeral for a Friend."
Oh. The
whole thing. I mean, he learned like in a week, the whole thing. He never had a piano lesson in his life. So that was always big. But, you know, we, in my grandmother's house, there was no rock and roll or anything like that. So we had to be kind of stealth. I mean, she had the Franks and Tony Bennett, who I love. Johnny Mathis' Christmas album, Chestnut Roasting on an Open Fire, would play all year round. It was like Christmas every day, because my grandmother loved his voice. Bobby Vinton, all those people. But my brother and I and our friends, we would surreptitiously listen to the radio. And Barry White, it was like the king of 7th grade makeout sessions with my boyfriend. Hiding out in our apartment. My brother would have a makeout session with the sister, and I would have I don't remember her name. Gary was my guy at the time.
Yeah.
And we would have makeout sessions to Barry White, because Gary loved everything Barry White. You know, I mean, he's probably a media mogul now. Who knows, for, you know, rap artists and whatnot, because he was seriously into music. So there's that. But, you know, as I got older, then it's when I discovered the Beatles, the Stones, you know, all my people, you know. Yeah. How about you?
Well, I was an MTV kid, so like, I remember my grandmother giving me money for my 8th birthday. My dad took me to Camelot Music, and I got Phil Collins' No Jacket Required, because I loved the videos on MTV. And and Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In. I got both of those albums. And growing up, my parents had a huge box of vinyl records. They had everything from Johnny Cash live at Folsom Prison to the Doobie Brothers, AC/DC, the Beatles, the Stones, Rod Stewart, Captain Beefheart.
Rod Stewart was big. Yep. We had my grandmother was also into Johnny Cash too. So when I heard she would play the album and Folsom Prison would come on, and I'd be like, wait, is this guy in prison? How's he doing music from prison?
I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing when my dad was like, he was in a prison. I was like, what? He was performing from prison, you know, being incarcerated.
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought too. I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. You can go to prison and make music. Wow, great.
That's what I thought.
Good job, justice system. Yeah, who else? Jethro Tull was big when I was in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Aqualung, my friend. Yeah, that was a big one.
Aqualung, oh, such a great album.
Yeah, it was. So, yeah, I mean, you know, and then the usual, you know, array of pop type of things, you know, REO Speedwagon.
Oh, I've seen them live twice.
Boston. Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, what was your first concert?
Was it Peter Frampton?
Peter Frampton? Oh,
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah.
My dad saw Frampton Comes Alive at the Winterland Ballroom, and they were recording, you know, for the album that night. You know, he heard them say, "We're recording an album."
Yeah, he was great. I saw the Stones in concert. I don't get to a whole lot of concerts, but I did Earth, Wind and Fire. Now I'm really dating myself.
Love those guys.
But I did see Earth. Yeah, Madonna. I saw her Like a Virgin tour, which was kind of cool. Yeah. Who else have I seen? But I haven't seen the big ones. I haven't seen Billy Joel, which is kind of weird. I've never seen Elton John, which is weirder. But yeah, I didn't really get out much. By the time I was old enough to go to concerts, I was having kids already. And it's like, you're not going anywhere except to, whatever that Z100 Jingle Ball,
Yeah. I had two first concerts. The first was a county fair concert. I went to see Steppenwolf.
Oh my God.
Yeah, guess what? The lead singer, John Kay, was the only original member. And he was such a charismatic individual. I didn't care. But, I was looking at, all the 40 and 50-year-olds there and just thinking, wow, the magic is gone for these people because it's not the original lineup. But it was a great show. I enjoyed it. And then when I was 17, my dad took me to see Alice Cooper, and he brought my uncle with us, even though my uncle didn't like Alice Cooper. He just went to go to the bar and talk to chicks and everything. That was a great concert. Oh my God, he is such a showman. He'll do one or two songs from every album he ever recorded, except for those ones in the early '80s where he was really fucked up, and he gets killed at the end of every show. I can't remember how he died at the end of this one. He either hung himself or got electrocuted. I can't remember.
That's very creative. My son's mother-in-law, Lorraine, she's a big Def Leppard chick.
Yeah.
And she will drive all the way to Vegas to see Def Leppard. It's really awesome, actually, her dedication to them.
I saw Def Leppard in 2015. It was one of the first concerts I went to after my car crash. And Tesla and Styx opened.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool. Very cool.
Do you remember your first makeout song?
That's one of the Barry Keep On Doing. One of those Barry White songs.
Okay.
Yeah. So I forgot how it goes. Oh my God, I forgot how it goes.
Oh, can't get enough of your love, baby.
Yeah, it's I'm gonna love you, baby. I'm gonna love you, baby. Just a little more time. Yeah. Oh God, yeah, that one. That was my first makeout song. How about you?
Mine was Janet Jackson's "Love Will Never Do Without."
Janet Jackson. It was before her wardrobe malfunction, right?
Oh, it was probably a good 10 years before.
When she was young and innocent.
Yes, indeed. What about comedy records? Did you have any of those?
Oh, I think I later on, when I was in my 20s, I had Joan Rivers' What Becomes a Legend Most.
Yeah.
That was my big one. And then my husband and I heavily into George Carlin.
Oh yes.
And I always had I had a thing for Richard Pryor, that kind of really shocking. I love Kevin Hart also. But the very first was Joan Rivers' What Becomes a Legend Most. Yeah. How about you?
We had Lily Tomlin's "This Is a Recording," which was the first one I can remember listening to. It's still hilarious. I listened to it on YouTube. Cheech and Chong's "Big Bamboo" with the rolling paper inside. And we did have a Richard Pryor album, but we only had the jacket. We didn't have the cover. I don't even remember which one it was, but we did have a Pryor album.
Yeah, I went to the movies to see that show, and I was just like, wow, this is crazy that you can get away with this.
Oh yeah, the live in concert special where he's over in what was he in? He was in Long Beach at some venue. Yeah, and he's wearing that red shirt and black pants.
Yeah, iconic.
Yeah, he goes out there. This guy in the front row takes a picture of him, and he says, "You sure you want to take a picture of Richard Pryor?" He was so damn funny. Do you remember the first time, whether it was intentional or by accident, that you saw a porn movie?
I don't think I've ever seen a porn movie.
Really? 'Cause I have a
What's
theory
the
that everyone has
closest?
seen one for at least 10 seconds.
I'm trying to think. Um, wow, that I stumbled on one. I mean, I think the closest thing that kind of shocked me
Hmm.
was the Wolf of Wall Street when he's snorting cocaine
Uh-huh.
during the opening montage and the woman's crack in the crack of her butt.
Oh.
That to me was like I was like, because I mean, it's so funny because as body as I can be and as rowdy as I can get and
Hmm.
as crazy as I was when I was younger,
Hmm.
I never really got into the whole porn thing. I never went to a movie
Uh-huh.
that was porn. I mean, I don't know. I guess because I was having so much fun myself, I didn't feel like I needed to watch anybody else doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Like I was 10. Like we had this
I
channel.
figured you must have been young.
Yeah.
Knowing you must have been young.
Yeah. We had this channel called the Spice Channel, and we had it for
Okay, the Spice Channel.
we had it for a very short time. And one night I turned it on and I see the scene. There was heavy petting going on in the scene. And I watched it and then I turned it off in fear that I was going to be caught. But then fast forward to 2 years later when that makeout situation happened with the Janet Jackson song, I got to copy what I saw. And I don't know what that movie was called, but I thank it for helping me.
That's funny. No, I mean, my grandfather used to hide Playboy magazines in the
Oh.
back of his closet,
Hmm.
and my brother and I don't know how. Maybe he knew about it somehow, but I was completely unaware. But he said to me one day, he goes, "Hey, come here, come here. You want to see something? You want to see something?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." So I'm like, "What are we doing in Grandpa's closet?" He goes, "You gotta see this. You gotta see this." So we go into the closet, like this.
Hmm.
We're halfway out of the closet, and I'm looking through. I'm going, "Is that what I'm supposed to look like when I grow up?"
Yeah.
I mean, I never had a Barbie doll. You have to understand. I never had a Barbie doll, but I did have porno magazines to like go, "Oh shit!" And then when I grew up and I didn't look like it, I was so disappointed. I thought, "What happened to the female form on me?"
When I was 7, me, my mom, and my brother went to go visit my brother's grandparents. He's my half brother, but his grandparents from his dad's side were like my grandparents too. So we go to visit them, and when we get back, my dad had to stay behind and work. And I go into my dad's room, and I see out in the open on the bed. I see it wasn't a Playboy magazine, but it was a skin
like
magazine. And
like
so
Hustler.
maybe it could have been Hustler, it could have been anything, I don't know, but it was just a generic one. I remember in hindsight, it was very generic looking, but like I took one look at the cover and then threw it down, thinking that I was going to get caught and stuff. So then I just ran back into the living room after that. But in hindsight, I think that's where my sex addiction came from. It definitely came from my dad, and I've heard stories since that I'm not going to share, but definitely that's where it was formed.
Well, isn't it funny because my brother and me came from my grandfather,
Yeah.
not of all people. But I'll tell you what we did. He passed away very suddenly, at what I think is an early age, at 77 years old.
Hmm.
And my brother and I looked at each other at the funeral home, and he said, "We have to get into Grandpa's closet again and get all those magazines because I think he still has them." And sure enough, we go in to help my grandmother clean up his stuff, and we go to the back of the closet, and they're all still there, including some more recent ones. And I'm like, "Dude, wow, we're a real kind of guy." So we just took them, and my grandmother's like, "What are you throwing out?" "Oh, nothing. There were some old newspapers in the closet, and they're covered with roaches." And my brother like, whew, imagine, loving your husband so much and crying and all this, and then you find he has a huge stash of porn.
Hmm. Did she tell you whether or not your grandfather was a chronic masturbator?
You know what? Okay. I can say this because they're long gone,
Mm-hmm.
but he and I used to go and do the laundry every Saturday morning. We'd take the shopping cart and walk the, 8 blocks to the laundromat and have a beer and a ham and cheese sandwich. Mind you, I was like 8 years old. And one day he had a couple of beers, and it was early in the morning. So you have a couple of beers in the morning, you're kind of, baking a little bit. So he goes, I said, Cramps, I said, how did you and Nana meet? And he had this look on his face. He goes, it was a shotgun wedding. I said, what? He said, I got drunk and I slept with her and I had to marry her.
Wow.
I mean, they were never affectionate with each other, ever. They slept in separate rooms.
Oh.
Everything. My brother and I would like get up in the middle of the night thinking we'd catch them doing something.
Yeah.
Nothing. Zip. So, yeah.
My mom and dad, they knew each other growing up, and they've always been kind of just friends, and it boggles my mind that they got married, but they had that kind of a situation too, which is one of the reasons why my mom divorced my dad, and yeah, I mean, he had the magazines and everything, and he got involved in some shocking stuff as well. But yeah, it's crazy when you find that stuff out later in life.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts. Well, anyway.
Now, I heard through the rumor mill that you had a death in the family recently. I'm so sorry. And
Yes, my father. Yeah.
Yeah, I am so sorry about that. Is that why you've been taking a break from Not the Final Girl?
It's more complicated than that. My mother is very, very sick with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer.
I'm so sorry.
And so she's been living with us. And so I've become a full-time nurse.
Oh my God! God bless you. I've been there. I know exactly what that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my last interview was back in December. I still have one that I have to edit, but I haven't. When you've been there, so when you're in that world and all of your mindsets change, your approach to every day when you wake up in the morning changes, and it's like you're so consumed by the caregiving and the worry and the nursing duties that you have, because they're very, very substantial with my mother. And your brain, I mean, I actually had a day, my husband was very concerned. I had a day, it was right before Christmas. So I had already put out the Christmas episode, and I had another one to edit, and I couldn't get to it. And I'm standing outside with my husband, and it was Christmas Eve, and I still had things to bake, to prep, because we host Christmas. I turned to my husband, I said, what day is it? And he looked at me and goes, what? I said, I don't know what day it is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. I don't know what to, and I just started completely.
Yeah.
It was like my brain opened up and everything fell out, and I didn't know who I was. I looked at him, and I'm just like, what am I doing here? What's going on? What do I have to do? And he brought me into the house, and he sat me down, and the room started spinning. And he said, hon, you're too much stress. So when I got the call that, fast forward a month and a half, I get the call from my half-sister that, it's getting close with Dad. If you're going to visit him, you might want to do it soon. I was kind of lightly talking to a counselor after the brain fog thing happened, because I told my doctor, she said, maybe you need to talk to somebody about your stress.
Yeah.
So I had an appointment with her, and she said to me, she goes, why are you in the car? I said, well, I have to go and visit my father. She said to me, you have so much stress. Are you crazy? And I just went, yep. And that's why I talked to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, but thanks for asking. But that's why I'm kind of in a hold. And even for my Patreon page, I've completely just, no. So, yeah, it's sad. I get sad thinking about it. But I do have a movie coming out in May.
Oh yeah, tell me about it if you can.
Yeah, okay, so it was bought, it's going to be distributed by Shudder. It's called In a Violent Nature. You can see the trailers, the official trailer, on their IMDb website. And it's a horror movie. And I listened to a podcast called The Big Picture with Amanda Dobbins and Sean Fennessy. And they talk broadly about movies. So they were doing like their Oscar, predictions. And I thought the podcast was over. And so he said, but you know what? Let's talk about Sundance, this year's Sundance, because it just happened. I didn't go, but I did watch the movies because, they're critics, so they get everything for free. And so he goes, there's this one movie, and it was purchased by, apparently it's going to be distributed by Shudder, and it's called In a Violent Nature. I was driving. I almost shit my pants. I went, oh, shit. And he's going, it's fucking awesome. And I went, oh shit, somebody, oh my God. So it's getting a lot of good traction from people who have been to screenings for it. And so again, it's, a killer who lives in the woods, a different take on the whole thing. It's the entire movie is through his eyes. It's not from the eyes of the victim. Oh, here comes this guy, oh my God, or this is, Camp Blood, whatever. It's completely through the killer's lens. Nice. And I come in at the very end. I have a nice role at the very end. I can't give it away because then I give away stuff. But I play a woman who lives in the woods and has seen a lot of blood and gore and stuff like that. So it's, and her take on, death and dying is, nature is violent. This is the kind of shit you see out here in the woods.
Right.
And so, it's kind of funny because I don't have an official name. I'm called the Woman. So there's already talk. I heard, who was it? Somebody told me that somebody who had seen it said, that's Lauren, because I'm billed as Lauren Taylor, not Lauren Marie Taylor. I dropped the Marie for, I'm a big girl now.
Yeah.
So, they're like, Vicky from Part 2 is in it. Do you think, they said Lauren, obviously. Do you think that because they never showed Vicky's body at the end, that's supposed to be her living in the woods? Yeah. And I'm like, sounds like a good premise to me. But, that's not how it was written. But a lot of the fans or not fans, but people in the know who have seen it, who are fans of different horror franchises, Nightmare, Friday, Halloween, all that, have been saying, do you think that's her? I mean, it's the same actress. Yeah. But is it Vicky or is it the killer's mother who actually maybe didn't die? So it's an interesting role and ideas that are being kicked around by a few people. So.
Oh, that sounds like it's going to be a real toe curler. I'll be looking out for that one. But I want to give you kudos on some interviews you did last year that I really enjoyed. You had R.G. Henning on. I had him on not long after you did.
Yeah.
Like I reached out to him right after I heard that interview, because I love Part 2, obviously. And he was supposed to come back on last month to promote his Part 3 book, but his book tour happened faster than he thought, so I'm waiting for him to get back to me. But I'm excited about that as well. I love that you had Toni Hudson on for a two-parter. Did you read Tinder Love?
No, believe me, we spent a lot of time that I edited it out because we were also telling personal stories.
Yeah.
But she read a bunch. She read a few to me, and I'm just like, girl, you're living your best life.
Oh, I read it twice in the same night. Once for research notes and once for 2 masturbation settings in one sitting. I mean, it's that steamy. It's that hot, okay? And I told her that, and she laughed all evil. Yeah. Yeah, she's a great. Yeah, I loved one of my favorites was. I love the cosplayers, obviously. Yeah. But B. Harrison Smith, the director, he was a lot of fun. Some people didn't like his take on a lot of things,
But I thought, you know what? It's fun to mix it up a little bit.
I had Harrison back on last fall to promote his Leprechaun book, and yeah, I mean, he makes me laugh every time. Even if I don't agree with him, I'm just laughing my ass off.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's fun. I really enjoyed when I spoke to the directors. I really did. I had, unfortunately, a lot of technical problems with Vincent DeSanti, but you know what? It happens, and maybe down the line with his next project,
Oh yeah, I
I'll
love
have
that.
him on again. I have a bird nest right outside my window. I'll have him on again, and hopefully my computers will talk to each other.
Yeah, I love that you had Susan Ladare on. Love her. I'm supposed to do another one with her soon. You had Robbie
Yeah,
Morgan. Love her. You had Lee Ayres. She seemed very serious in all business. Was she?
yeah. Well, she's in a different place. She's not doing the acting thing. She's doing her family constellations, her
Hmm.
past life trauma, and really helping people with that. And that's really her focus. And she really wanted to get that out there because it's something that's really so near and dear to her heart that she and her husband do. So it's nice. It's nice.
Yeah, and I was supposed to have Michelle Michaels on last November, and then she had a family situation of her own, and hopefully I'll get her on in the future. But I think I think she told me she listened to the first interview I did with you or something, which I thought was nice. And because I told
Yes,
her I
that's
loved
nice.
the interview that you two did, you know.
Yeah, she was good. She was a fun guest. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, guess what? I met Kirsten Baker last October at Sister Creature Con in Sacramento.
Really? How is she doing? I haven't spoken to her since I think before Christmas. How is she?
Oh, she was great. Yeah, she was such a sweetheart. And oh my God, she looked so great. She wore the Mickey Mouse t shirt, the same one from the exact movie. And I asked her, I said, is that the same one? She's like, yes, it is. I've never gotten rid of it, and
Yeah.
I've always taken care of it.
Yeah, she always wears it. She's a really, really sweet, sweet woman. I really like her a lot. And she has such a big heart,
She
and
does.
she's just great. Yeah, she's one of the good ones, as they say.
And I told, it's funny, I had the vice president of that con on the podcast. I gave her like a list of people to reach out to. And I don't know if she reached out to you, but I put you on there because you need to come to California so I can meet you.
I know. I do know that I don't have any conventions lined up for this year yet.
Uh, you got the thing going on with your mom, so I'm sure you're taking a break right now.
Well, yeah, but what I usually do is I stay locally.
Hmm.
So, like, I think last year, because I've been taking care of her for 2 years now. It's just that it's you know
Uh-huh.
it's advanced, very advanced stage, and so it's a lot more intense for the past several months than it has been. It started intense, then it kind of calmed down for a bit, then it's like full steam ahead again. Um, so what I was doing last year is
Hmm.
I would go to New Jersey, or I would go to the Boston area, driving distance, because to me, the thought of being so far away where, okay, you got to come home right now. It's like, then I'm at the mercy of the airlines. And we
Hmm.
know how that goes, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like backstage in the green room, what female horror star has the dirtiest mouth and makes you laugh more than anyone?
The dirtiest mouth. Wow. I don't know. I mean, you know what? That's a hard question because when we're at conventions,
Hmm.
you're usually staying in the hotel.
Uh-huh.
So when you get some grub, you tend to retreat into your hotel room to get like a little break for like 20 minutes.
Right.
So there's really not a whole lot of interaction between us. Most of the interaction is on the floor.
Hmm.
Like, I'm next to Kane Hodder, because I'm a good babysitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bill Randolph is on the other side of me, or, Russell Todd said they have Kane, and then they'll have somebody quieter next to me. But yeah, I don't. I'm trying to say, I don't want to call out Bill Randolph. Bill Randolph kind of just says it the way it is.
Yes.
It's like, shit. Yeah. I mean, if anybody, it would be me.
I've met several. Dee Wallace comes to mind. Apparently, I heard when she's drinking tequila, she is far more dirty and far more funny. But I've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, Richard Dreyfuss is pretty funny. He's a funny guy because I was talking to him one day, and I got a little sound bite from him, but I didn't want to really bother him. But I told him, I said, Mr. Holland's Opus is one of my absolute favorite movies of yours. And he was like, thank you so much. I'm always waiting for people to tell me that because it's one of my favorite performances. He goes, everybody talks about Jaws and this one and that one. He goes, I think about horror movies, I'd rather vomit in my mouth than watch a horror movie.
That sounds like something he'd say. Oh my God.
It made my day. I still have the soundbite on my phone. It made my day to hear that.
I'm a Let It Ride kind of a guy. That's my favorite Dreyfuss movie.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Let It Ride, where he's gambling at the racetrack and he wins every race that he does, and like everybody wants his money, like everyone's trying to find a way to take advantage of him. It's a very funny movie from the late 80s.
Oh, I'll have to check it out. I've never seen it.
Oh, it's hilarious. It's really hilarious. So, other than that, do you have anything else upcoming besides the movie?
I have another movie coming out that I did with a British company called Dark Temple, and it's called He Knows When You're Sleeping. This is terrible. I don't remember the name of my own movie. I'm pretty sure He Sees You When You're sleeping, and I'm a mom in it. I've got the sweater behind me that I wear in it, so if you see a snippet of it, you can probably tell what happens. But it's I have a few scenes. You should IMDb it. There's some people in it that you would recognize.
Okay.
Two of us from our franchises that you would recognize. But it was so funny. It was a British company, and they contacted me. They got my email. Someone asked me, can I give them your email? And I said, yes, absolutely. And they're like, oh, we'd love to have you on board. Are you available on this and this day? And they were filming in New York State. It was an easy go for me. And they were just so wonderful and so nice. And the trailer is out if you go online. Oh, no, wait a minute. The trailer's not out yet. They sent it to me. The trailer's not out. Okay, I take it back. But yeah, so that's also coming up. One of the directors that I interviewed mentioned maybe doing a collaboration on another one of his projects. But, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
That is so awesome. I'm so glad that, despite hardships, you're still out there doing what you can,
I think my internet connection is getting wonky on you.
Same here, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have a little orange thing in the corner where it shows my internet is weak. Sorry about that.
It's okay. We're wrapping up anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. But yeah, like you said, I hope to, one of these days make it out with. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I have a joke for you.
Okay, what is it? I could hear the delay in there, so my computer is definitely slow.
Okay. How do you know if a gas station worker just had sex?
I don't know. He uses the wrong hose.
One of his fingers is clean.
Hello? Oh, ew. Okay, on that note, listen, thanks for having me on. It's been fun. It's been a good hour. Thanks.
Lauren, thank you so much for coming on and nerding out with me today. And again, I hope I get to meet you in the future. And I love you so much. Thank you so much. Have a great day and be safe.
Thank you. You too. Mwah.
Mwah. Okay, bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Lauren Marie Taylor. Ain't she a sweetheart? Oh my God. Despite the wonky connection we had a little bit there at the end, which I had to edit later, it was a fantastic nerd out, and I'm so glad we got to do it today. She is just fabulous. Beyond fabulous. And wow, we got to get into some real shit there, didn't we? Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes!